the other person could have, let's say, a red mark or a scratch. Hey everybody, this is David Kohlmeier, the problem solver. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am a retired police officer helping people solve problems every single day in Clark County. As a retired police officer, I wanted to do something to give back to the community, Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, and Henderson. I was a police officer for 17 years, and every single week I have a weekly show called The Problem Solver, where I bring on different people that are either leaders or nonprofit community activists, lawyers, realtors, mortgage agents, you name it, whoever can solve a problem and help people in the community and share information is who I want on the show. Today, I have some amazing guests today, so I'm very excited. We basically have today, today I'm having a co-host, which is my friend here, Armando Gamez. Armando, thanks for joining me today.
Hey, thank you very much for inviting me again, my friend.
So Armando's a great friend, known him for a long period of time, and I figured maybe him sharing it as well and getting involved in this conversation about security and crime in Las Vegas would be a great today in general. But today we also have Jonathon Alverez, who's the Chief of Protective Force International.
Welcome, and thank you for having us.
And then we have Alan Almeida.
Correct.
And he is basically the captain for Protective Force International. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
So the reason why I basically wanted to have you guys, on the show is that I've actually, over the last maybe 2 years, I've noticed your company as a security company, and I noticed that you guys were like extremely elite. And as a retired police officer, a lot of times the presence, right, is the biggest thing. Like they say level of force is the presence is number one. And I've just been very surprised about the way you guys look. And I've been in Vegas for 20 years, and I was a cop for 17. And basically, I think you guys look very squared away, not even knowing your background. And we met over a year ago. So I just wanted to bring you guys on because I think you guys have grown and you guys see a lot. You're all throughout the valley. So I wanted to talk about what you guys are doing and talk about safety in the community and how you guys are solving problems. So again, I appreciate you guys coming on the show.
Thanks, David. So let's see, where would we start?
Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, because I know that was interesting when we first met.
Sure. So I am prior law enforcement officer out of South Florida and military Army veteran. When I came out to Vegas, I noticed that the security industry in Vegas really wasn't up to par. That kind of thought process where you want to take it upon yourself to do something better. Had that all in the works. Eventually October 1 happened, and that really kind of thrusted this thought process, and granted that entire area saw a lot of awful things, but if some of the security that was around there was equipped and trained, even if it would have saved one life, it would have been all worth it. So I, met with a friend of mine, Andre Scott, who was my business partner. And we created, Protective Force International with a few $100s and a laptop, and now we're a multi-million-dollar security operation out here in Southern Nevada.
No, I think it's totally amazing what you've done. And I met Andre, and I'm sorry about the loss. He seemed like a real nice guy. I met with him for 15, 20 minutes, and I felt that way. So, but again, I'm sorry about the loss. So I know that you're carrying a lot of weight in general. I know that you have Captain Alan Almeida basically to help out as well. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Alan.
Born and raised here in Las Vegas. Background from anything from hospitality to used to run my own handyman company. Marine Corps veteran. So me and him BS each other all the time. But started with the company when it first started. I was the very first security officer and have worked my way up to where we're at now, and plan on staying and retiring. So
how long have you been with the company?
So March of 2019 was when I started. So this March coming up will be 3 years.
Got it. And how long has the company been total now?
This month will be 3 years.
3 years, okay. So you're basically a new security company, basically growing in general. And I know security is a major issue from October 1st. And it's interesting that you're on the show because 9/11 basically, actually Saturday makes it 20. Is it 20 years?
20 years,
20.
And basically, so I actually worked 9/11 as a New York City police officer. And I was fortunate to be myself across the bridge in Brooklyn working that day at a train station. But, these events are very horrific, and a lot of people in the community don't really realize how horrific they are in general and how important it is to have proper police and security even. And there's probably more security professionals probably like in most cities and have the training needs to be so. And it's important to get the right training. And I think people back in the day thought security was no big deal. You give them like a little badge and uniform, and basically that's good enough. Tell me how you guys differentiate yourself from other security companies.
So once an individual applies, they have to go through multiple steps, similar to a police application. They go through consistent vetting, multiple background checks. They come in for in-person interviews. They get gauged on personality testing as well. And once they're selected, if they're selected, they go through an academy. It's a week-long academy where they get trained in self-defense, Nevada law, how to work with law enforcement, how to de-escalate situations, certified in all the tools that we use throughout our daily duties, which was a big thing. You notice out here in security companies that they just kind of hand somebody the equipment and go, hey, have at it. Well, we can't do that in these times. People need to be trained and qualified to respond to certain things that occur throughout any incidents and throughout the valley. So we outfit the officers as well once they come on board, so they know exactly what their gear is. They know how to use it. It's their own gear, so we have a great employee program where the company fronts the money and they pay it back through little increments. So, because it is an investment. So we have a stance on when you come to work for us is the same thing as a doctor or a mechanic. Nobody provides them their tools. They have to go out and they purchase their tools and they work with their tools. It's a career. We want to make a career-minded individual. We don't want it to just be a job. We have full benefits, retirements, life insurance, 401ks. So we are striving for people who want to be career-minded. So once they get their equipment, get trained on it, then they go through OJT, on-the-job training, in their sites through our supervisors, our field training officers, and hopefully make the community a safer place in whatever that they do.
No, it's a very good point. I think it's important to have security officers, even though they're not police officers, to basically make it like a career, job. Even when we say job, but it's a career, even though it's a job. But I think the career mindset and the job mindset's a little bit different, right? Like you're invested in, like you should for training or read a book and learn about the law and study the NRS a little bit. Not that you need to be an attorney, but every year you should be learning a little bit more. Every month you should do a little bit more self-improvement in regards to your work and stuff. I got a question for you. So Armando, basically, originally from Mexico in general. I noticed when we go to Mexico and other countries, it seems like everyone's got like a gun. Where out here, with security, the traditional security doesn't have a firearm. Like if you're in Mexico, would you say like a lot of the security, they all have firearms?
Well, the security, yes. The citizens, there is no easy path to get guns. But a lot of securities normally they have to be police or retired military because it's very hard to get guns or carry a gun legally in Mexico. So that is complicated.
So I think it was in Mexico City. I mean, every bank, everyone's got I think it was a shotgun or something like that. But you don't really see that in the States as much, right?
Yeah, but it's those are police. Those are not security. If they have the gun, 90% of the time they're police that they are hiring for the service.
The hiring, but it's like a side gig, right, for security?
No. They get a contract with the state or whatever.
Got it.
With the police department.
What's your thoughts in regards to like in Las Vegas? Like, things have changed right now with COVID and times have changed. Do you think that all security should be armed? Do you think it should be like layers? Like, what are your thoughts about that?
So that's
especially like let's say on the Strip.
Well, that's a great question. So we first have to start about the mindset of when people think about security. So the movies of Paul Blart don't help us at all, right? So what we really had to think, the mall cop. There's a reason for that. There's a reason because of this type of mindset that the community has. We want to get away from it, right? So eventually layers are great. Security as a whole should be like an onion, different layers of, surveillance and video, physical, all that kind of stuff. But us as Protective Force International, we are on a mission to change the minds of individuals when they come to think about security. We want them to think about professionals, ones who are trained and vetted to actually go out and do, a job that is needed. Law enforcement is tasked out. They do amazing work with the resources that they have, but they can't be everywhere at all times. Mm-hmm. So we're here to support those operations and everything that they do, and of course support the community in everything that they do as well. So we have, I've spoken in front of legislators The PILB is the Private Investigators Licensing Board, which regulates our industry, does a great job. And we've spoken on, hiring training standards for getting the guard cards that are required, the armed cards. So we're moving in the right direction when it comes to legislative wise to get more training for officers. So we're a big part, and some other organizations are a big part of that, because we really want to change this mindset that everybody has of security.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, I think, have taken it to another level. You guys look sharp. You have a big organization. You said how many officers do you have right now?
We're about 250 officers now.
And what's definitely unusual, you also have canine. How many dogs do you have?
So we got 6 right now, and they're explosive detection. And they go to conventions. We work downtown Fremont Street, some of the casinos, the convention center. So it's a very diverse operation when it comes to the canines.
So most of the canines use it for explosive, for like events and stuff like that?
Yeah, so events, every weekend we're downtown, so the casinos contract us to patrol because of large crowds. So it's, like I said, very interesting operation when it comes to canine, because again, it's adding to that layer, and it's, I don't want to get too much into that.
Yeah, so are you on Fremont Street now?
So the actual Fremont experience, no, we get contracted by the casinos surrounding.
Okay.
So everything is separated like jurisdiction-wise. Like if it would be its own little city, every casino is its own little city. So we get contracted, and they patrol or they stand by the door as a deterrence as well. So if something happens, if a suspicious bag comes in, they can call it out. They don't have to wait for a response, usually from law enforcement. If something happens on our end, we're able to be quicker.
So here's a question for you. So do you guys do any security? We started talking about downtown, and you don't have to discuss certain things that are that may be security issues, But I guess my question was going to be that if some of the hotels have their own security, do some of them have their own dogs? And like, why are they using you? Is it because of your specialty, or like, what I'm saying? Like, do they have their own dogs? Do they have their own security, or are you kind of being contracted out now to work in some of the different casinos instead of them having their own security?
So, ever since I saw I took over finances of the organization and everything, canines are very expensive. And I can see why many of the casinos contract out, because we take the liability for it, but also the expenses of the upkeep of the canines, the handlers, consistent training. So these strip properties, most of them do have their own canine teams, which we work and train with them together. We have a great program, the ICWRDA, the International Casino Working Resorts and Casino Working Dog Association.
I'm not even going to try.
Yeah, it's really long, but it's I can give you that information to put up, but it's a nonprofit for canines as well. And we train with them weekly, but the cost for a canine unit is tremendous. So a lot of organizations contract us out, and they pay our rates, and we essentially come do the job when we need to, and then we go, and they don't have to worry about liability-wise training, upkeep of the canine, maintenance, vet bills, all that stuff.
Yeah, it becomes a lot of money in general. Mm-hmm. I know as a police officer in Henderson, the guys took home the dogs, and they get an extra stipend monthly just to maintain the dogs and have the crates or whatever they have in the backyard and stuff like that.
Yeah, all the dogs go home with the handlers, so they get that stipend as well.
So, so I can understand the liability-wise in regards to the casinos. Basically, God forbid there's a bite or something, they'll say, "Oh, that's a security company, right?" I mean, technically they would sue both anyway. I mean, the bottom line is you're not looking for any problems in general. You're looking. I think a lot of it's more of the prevention, right? They see the dog, and basically, it's kind of like people that are burglars, right? They walk down the street and there's like 10 homes, and if there's 9 homes that are dark and one's like lit up and basically it's got the security sign, you're more likely to go to the other homes that are dark where it looks like no one's living there. Mm-hmm. So more likely by having your presence, a security officer in uniform that looks good with the dog, more likely is going to prevent someone from trying to get to that easy spot, having that opportunity, right?
It's making it a harder target. That's
right. Yeah. So I think it's great what you guys are doing in general. Tell me, so you guys are all over. What are you doing like throughout the valley? So a lot of people just, a lot of the listeners for the Problem Solver basically are local people living here. Tell me what you're doing in the different communities. Like, do you work with the gated communities, the HOAs?
So we do have HOA properties. We have 2 different programs that are like our bread and butter. So we have our on-site officers, which answer calls for service on-site. They're directly, assigned to let's just say a residential community. And then our other program, which is our patrol program. So our patrol program is actually the most popular one now due to budget constraints and the ability for us to respond to a lot of the 311 calls and emergency calls that get sent to our dispatch center, because we also have our own dispatch center within our headquarters. What happens is we contract with the client. Let's say it's a small residential community that can't afford an on-site officer. We have marked patrol units that are answering calls for service throughout the valley 24/7, and they do patrols. So there's a contracted amount of patrols on the property per day for a 24-hour period. And if any resident calls, like when they're not there, they'll call the dispatch center. Dispatchers ask them all the questions like they would a PD dispatcher. And they get dispatched to a call, noise disturbance, a suspicious individual, something non-emergency. Any life-threatening things, we always advise them to call 911.
So how does it work? So I mentioned the other day that in my community where I live, I saw one of your officers and wasn't really sure. And then I noticed a car that was parked in front of my house got a little bit of a tag. So I did notice there's some extra like security presence. I didn't know you guys were in the community.
Surprise.
So I guess here's a question for you. How do you know, I mean, not that I'm reading all these newsletters, but how do the people know to call you that if you're in the community? I mean, I guess it's in the newsletter.
Yeah.
But do you want phone calls from that? Like people that are in an age, let's say a gated community. I live in a gated community and there's something I see. Normally, right, you're always going to say if it's a police matter, call 911. But if it's a non-emergency number, normally they're told to call 311. But the problem is in Vegas, Henderson's a little bit different because it's a smaller town, I feel. But in Vegas, basically, like you could be on the phone for an hour
or more.
With 311.
So I want to say you're not on the phone even closely to 3 or 4 minutes. If you give the dispatcher long enough information and be on the phone long enough, that's how long it'll be on. But an officer should respond within the hour, if that. So usually sometimes, depending on the priority of the call, because we also have a prioritization of calls for service, we get called for emergencies also because they can't get through to 911 sometimes. So it just all depends. If something egregious is happening, some people are calling 911, some people are calling us. So it's literally whoever gets there first. But newsletters are the way to go. We provide, I'm not sure if you guys have received it yet because everything's on back order. The signs for the property get added. So it has a dispatch number on the signs, has our badge on there, security dispatch line. And then every resident should be getting a magnet that has that dispatch number. So you'll definitely be getting one of those.
God, that's good. I'll share a quick story with you. When I was in New York City, so I've been in here about 19, 20 years. And I'm 45, but when I was 17 years old, I basically started something in my area in New York City. This two areas were called Douglaston and Little Neck. So I basically set something up. It was like a neighborhood watch program. It was called Little Neck Douglaston Security Association. And it was a nonprofit. And what I wanted to basically do is this kind of interesting story was to basically, there was 10,000 homes in Little Neck and Douglaston. And my goal was to basically have people like sponsor or bring money to the nonprofit so I could hire extra security, even though it was a nonprofit, to kind of patrol and do some extra things. No one donated really any money, right? The police are out there. So what I did do was I did something called, I have to sit down and show you one time because I got the old, newsletters and stuff. But what I did was I started doing $100 membership. And out of the 10,000 people, basically, people could pay the $100. And what I was doing was, even though they were patrolling the area, it was technically going to member patrol. So not that it was like a perfect situation, but, I would give them a sign that said Little Neck Douglaston Security, and they were supposed to put it like in their front of the house. And technically would have a list of addresses, and then when they go out and patrol, basically they would go to member. And out of actually 10,000 homes, 230 people sent in $100. So basically it was like $23,000, which was enough for a car, a cell phone, gas. And it was me and one other person basically that was kind of patrolling, but you could call it in and I would come out, and I was also going to college at the time. So I tried to do the best that I could, but my goal was to bring in $100,000 to have extra security and have volunteers and do different things. Did it for a few years in general. It was kind of a fun experience, but it's very hard to get people in the community to like pay extra money, but it was a fun experience. I did do it. I had a yellow light basically on the top of the car. Had a Honda Passport back in the day. Driving around like Little Neck Douglaston Security. I had uniforms. Got my dad involved. We went to the parades. We hooked up with another security company. But it's hard to do that. But what I'll share with you, it's great to have other people in the community to be involved. And you guys are like one level of it. For like I would say there's law enforcement, and then there's security, and then there's like the neighborhood, neighborhood watch programs. And I think to get more neighborhood watch programs, I used to go speak in Henderson later on in life. Basically, I would go out to community meetings like Sun City Anthem, speak in front of 100 people, everyone's got a question, like, what should I do? What should I do? The biggest thing really is I always tell people, calling the police, articulating, but if you have security, but don't wait on security because they meant, but you can call all the numbers that you want because up there they have a kind of a security patrol volunteer program, right? But they're not, they don't have any firearms, very little training in general, but it was good, right? They were driving around like a neighborhood watch. So I think, the getting people more involved is the key, whether it's neighborhood watch. You guys probably, right? I'm sure would you go out and do community things like that and help people?
Absolutely. We do that all the time. Each one of our properties, usually that we contract, they have on-site officers, and we identify it being like a higher crime risk area. If it's around the poverty line where we know that there's a lot of issues in that area, we partner with management and do community outreach programs. I sit on the board for the Shade Tree as well. So if there's issues with high levels of domestic violence, the Shade Tree has great programs that they can refer individuals to and bring them out to meet them at the house if anything's occurring or anything like that. They have an emergency line. So there's a lot of things that we do. We do each month. You want to talk about our community situational program?
Community situational program?
Yeah, the situational outreach that we do each month.
With Metro?
No, just in general, the free one.
This is a new name to me.
The situational program?
The one that you do the training to the local people?
Yeah, to the local people.
Oh, yeah.
The awareness.
For some reason, it didn't click in my head.
Yeah. He's a Marine, remember, so that's why.
I don't see any crayons.
It makes sense now.
Now it clicks. Okay, now we know.
Yeah, we'll go out, like, for instance, some of the properties that we're contracted with, we'll if they have a space where we can do provide a situation awareness class, we'll do that for free for the community. Where when we first started, it was like a free women's situation awareness class, and now it's pretty much anybody who wants to learn
Post
more.
location.
Yeah, and because of COVID, obviously we can't host those type of community or events anymore, so we're trying to find different ways to do that. Maybe come back here on a podcast and do a situational class. But
rewind a second. You said you can't do them for what reason?
Because of
no, we used to can't do it. Now it's available.
Oh yeah,
again.
we stopped it because of the original mandates and stuff for having how many people in a room and all that kind of things.
So two things I was thinking as you were just speaking about, we spoke earlier. Two things. So this is a studio, Sticky Bar Studio, but we have a large back area there as well that we could do something like that. And I've actually always wanted to do that where back in the day I used to do the crime prevention through environmental design. Where we'd go to SEPTED, go to people's homes and say you need a lock here, you need lighting here, you need a security laminate filming here, I always wanted to do that and have that part of like the services for free, whether me or other retired police officers do those checks. I like to work with you guys, but I was thinking, especially in Desert Shores, they have by the lagoon, they have that community room there, which is pretty good. I'm assuming I can get that because I live in Desert Shores, and also here because of maybe different locations. But I like to set that up and actually work with you guys.
Absolutely.
It's one way of giving back.
We work a lot with Metro, with their CPS as their crime prevention specialists, because all the contracts that we currently have, they work with Metro to try to get them to be crime-free certified, which they have to be SEPTED, or the properties have to be SEPTED approved or SEPTED approved.
Yeah, so I used to do that, the crime-free multi-housing program. Basically, have to be basically certified by checking the windows and doors. I used to teach that program as well. It's a great program. A lot of people a lot of apartment complexes, they actually get money back. They save like 10% on insurance, and there's different like platinum, silver, memberships.
Right.
But actually, a lot of people didn't follow through with that program. I'm not sure if it's more these days. I know they keep doing it. I think it's great. I mean, it's a constant program.
We went through the class ourselves, and we see the benefit of it, but I guess sometimes the property managers move around so much that doesn't the certification stay with that individual?
It stays with the individual,
not the property.
Yeah.
So it's like a consistent, if you have somebody who stays there long term, that works out, and you stay on the safety.
For me, it was always, if I recall, when I trained it was the property, because you have to do that inspection, right? Like you go to the window, make sure that the window doesn't basically.
Well, no, the crime-free certification stays with the property, but the class goes with the person. That's
the knowledge of the class goes with.
I knew what you were saying. So bottom line is that's the problem. You got to keep training property managers. Are they available? Law enforcement basically has to make a class like every quarter, and people will show. I mean, the truth is, it's like layers. You got to keep on doing it, right? The more people you train, more knowledgeable. I remember doing some of those inspections. It's very easy. Like the window's broken, you can just lift the window and basically wind up, have someone to break in very easily because the window doesn't open. I mean, it doesn't lock. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They use like those pinhole things and different things. And some people have to invest a little bit of money in general, you know. I think it's a great program. I think more people need to do it. Actually, I was just thinking right now, it's been a while, the crime prevention specialist, to get in touch because I know in each command that they have somebody in general. But I definitely like to do more with you guys with the programs, especially being a retired police officer. I like speaking and kind of helping. And believe it or not, most people, you know, get broken into by the rear slider door, right? No one's watching, no one's listening. And people think they get an alarm system, right, that automatically, you know,
Safe,
it's going to prevent them from breaking in. What are your thoughts? I mean, you guys see a lot because of security work in the communities. If you had to talk about prevention in your eyes today, right now, if someone's home, if I said to you, hey, Jonathon Allen, what should I do to prevent a burglary to happen in my home? What would be some of the layers to do in the home? Since you guys probably respond.
Probably the first thing I would think of is lighting. Having a good lighting around your property at nighttime is a big deterrent. Signage. If you break-ins, we usually tell people like to change the screws in their hinges on the doors, make them longer.
That's a big one.
The 3-inch screws.
Yeah.
3-inch screws.
Put 'em in.
Those little 1-inch screws don't stop a kick at all.
There's a lot of good. So the problem is my philosophy is if somebody's going to want to get in your house, they're going to get in there, whether, you know, it takes them 20 minutes or it takes them 2 minutes. So your goal is to delay that. And in delaying that, there's like 3mm films that, you know, you can put on the windows that people have a tremendous amount of time trying to break, even with metal rods and stuff. The point is delaying it, and delaying it enough where somebody can respond and either catch them in progress or catch them, you know, in the act inside of your home when, God forbid, someone's not there. But the thing is preparing your family for something like that, you know, because unfortunately crime is not going anywhere. Things are going to occur, and it's preparation. So you want to make your house a hard target. Lighting, using septed, so putting, you know, thorny bushes around your windows where no one really wants to be around that, you know, and keeping people around that area, and just making it very hard for somebody to get in. Not a lot of properties are allowing these metal bars to be put in, and no one also wants to live in a jail cell. So we really have to think about creative ideas. So alarm system does work. Believe it or not, the little dogs actually do work as well. Those ankle biters are loud, and they really hear things. They may not be the one to stop somebody coming in, but they'll notify you when someone's around.
On my house, I have the bars, but they're decorative and look pretty, so it looks good.
They were saying about. I heard from the police that the number one tool after prevention is those little cameras that they put
the ring
in
cameras.
the entrance, the ring cameras, because you have record of the face of the guy who is committing. So even if you don't catch it on the moment, well, the other thing is those rings, they notify you when somebody's home from.
Right.
But the other thing is you have a face.
You do. Cameras are always an investigative tool, and you know nowadays we notice that the criminals are getting more brazen, and they don't care whether cameras are there or not. They're just going to do it and hope that they don't get caught later. But cameras, I always said, you know, I worked on the Strip and did a lot of investigations with the surveillance and the surveillance teams, and people really don't care about cameras. It's good for us to have that as an investigative tool to find that individual so they won't continue to do that. But it is a layer. It is a layer.
The problem with it is, what I always see with the cameras is that I happened to see a camera today. It was interesting with the ring. What do you call the ring?
Doorbell.
And it was weird because the person kind of like lived at that home, so the video was good. But most people that are the true criminal trying to break into a place, I mean, they're going to be wearing clothing and like a hoodie, or these days they're wearing the mask because like it's more acceptable to wear a mask or a bandana to cover the face. So so you see a guy with a white, black, or yellow, you're not going to see his face. You're not going to see who he is. And then so you have a video of all right, guy broke in, but you can't really identify who the person is. So I always tell people that the cameras are great. Again, maybe you're lucky that you get a video that showcases something. And actually, Desert Shores, I think it was a few weeks ago, they had a camera right by the cars, by the garage. And basically they were trying to like break into a car. So that video was good for them when they apprehended the guy. They were underneath the car, you know, let's say a few doors away. And they caught the guy. That camera was good to help as evidence for basically when they tried to prosecute the guy. But what I always share is that you need to, again, make it a hard target, right? So I always tell people, again, landscaping, I agree with you. And basically, by the windows, you can't have like just this fluffy banana tree where it's very easy to hide, because when the police come by, they're looking for a quick second, right? So I guess the thorny bushes where basically you don't want to go there, or the hard rocks where it's hard to basically walk. The side gates, having a lock on the side gate, so it's not easy, just open up the lock in general and just walk inside. It's interesting. We always say that, with lighting. I always laugh because, they say 80% of the burglaries happen during the day. So I mention the same thing with lighting, but most people don't burglarize at night. Most people are home. So it's normally during the day when the lighting is not such a concern. But I always say the same thing, lighting. But the truth is, most people that I've noticed in all these years, they open up the side gate, they go to the back, they take a rock and they use the slider doors or the windows to break in, because most people, if you hear a crack of a window, you're not really going to call the police. Maybe someone broke something. Like these days, people are desensitized.
Right.
So the bottom line is, people are not really calling the police when they hear that. So I agree with you. Security laminate. I did that at a law firm that I worked with. The whole place is security laminate. So there's different thicknesses. It also comes in different tint.
Yep.
It's an investment basically within your home or within your business. You need that security laminate film. And also there's like a caulking that you do to make it really strong. So I'm not sure you've probably seen the video where a kid throws the rock. The rock actually hits back and goes back, hits the kid in the head, and he goes unconscious,
Yeah.
So the bottom line is, I really do believe in security laminate. So you want to harden the target, which is important. And then preparing your family, God forbid something happens. You may never think it happens to you and your family, but you should prepare for that one instance, just like police officers and security. You train for that one time in 20 years. We may be involved in a shooting. It's interesting. So when I was in Mexico, I always bring up Mexico because Armando is from there. I was laughing when I was in Mexico that they take the broken glass of like beer bottles and they put glue or cement, and the broken glass are on top of the wall to prevent people. But that's hardening a target. No one's going to want to go over that wall. What are other ways in Mexico that people, if you can't have a firearm, and everyone's trying to get rid of firearms, especially right in the United States, right? This whole thing is like, get rid of guns. How do they do it in Mexico for the average person that doesn't have a gun?
Well, it's sad because you go to a lot of neighborhoods and you see only fences. Here you see the architecture of the house, but they are preventing you even to see what is going on. And you have a tall fence, and then you have another fence. So by the time you are trying to cross, you are already 10 feet or more. So that's the number one. And the bars are very popular. Yeah. And also all the new developments, the same as you have, gated communities. That's the number one selling point when they are selling anything. Is gated communities, guards on the front.
You're selling that security.
Yeah, it's a little bit more affordable to have somebody on the door in Mexico, but it's for all new projects. That's because he's selling these days.
Got it. It's interesting because my community, I should have reported a long time ago. I've been living for a few years. Even in gated communities, people think it's a false sense of security. I think it's one way of preventing people from driving around because it delays someone for a few minutes. So you may not want to get stuck in the community. You don't know what's inside or whatever. But you know how they have the side pedestrian gate? And my community, that gate, it's very easy to take like a butter knife or something to put into the lock and just open the lock. And basically, and I never called it in general, but like those extra things, or even the regular gates, some of them can basically just be pushed and you can slide right in, right? And a lot of people at nighttime, I know it's a lot of younger adults from my experience, not like I'm looking to discriminate the youth population in Las Vegas, but they're basically walking around trying to lift car door handles, taking the garage remotes, or basically trying to take some stuff in the car. And a lot of people leave guns in their cars still to this day. But a lot of it's the young youth that basically also have a drug problem or an addiction, and they're basically like just 3 o'clock in the morning, they're just trying different door handles. But the gates are important. I think it's all levels of security, right? Because you could live in a gated community and still have crime that takes place. And
yeah, I used to live in a gated community, and my house got burglarized at 2 o'clock in the afternoon while I was at work. So it doesn't matter where you live.
And also with lighting and stuff, we talk about lighting. People always say, it's kind of funny, it's like an old school. They'll say, oh, I have a motion sensor light. But that was the old mindset because there was no LED lights back in the day. Right now, the truth is, in any home, all lights should be on the outside of the home, the perimeter, all night long. There's no reason. LED is really cheap, and it should be on all night long. And I know, with my family members, I'm like, leave the lights on. Like, they just don't get it. I think the old mind says I'm saving money by not having electricity on. Yeah. But by having the lights on, it looks like someone's inside the home. And even though a lot of burglaries happen during the day, there's no reason why you should. So if you have the motion sensor lights, it's too late already. The person's already there. And they used to say cockroaches are like criminals, that if you turn the lights on, they're going to disappear. But if you have the lights on up front, they shouldn't be going to the location. So I really do believe the LED lighting on the outside of the home is really important. And having those different boundaries that we mentioned, like gates and stuff like that, you know, I mean, the truth is these days you got to protect your home to protect your family in every community that you live in. How do you feel these days? So now we're getting out of the whole, well, I thought we were getting out of COVID, and every day it seems like there's new variant going on. So I'm kind of confused what's going on. But the bottom line is that, what are your thoughts right now? Oh, here's a question for you. So for the Strip, people were saying it's more dangerous these days over the last few months because of COVID. Some people said that the hotel pricing was very cheap and was bringing different people. Like, what were your thoughts about people were saying on the Strip that it was more dangerous these days? Like, what's your take on that?
It's a loaded question. So, let's see. I want to say,
do you believe it was cheap hotel rates, bringing different?
I want to say
Vegas was always cheap anyway. I mean, like, you could stay anywhere.
Well, I know that some certain casinos had really cheap rooms, which brought a certain type of clientele, and I know that there's a lawsuit going on right now because of it. I'm not going to mention who, but there's like a huge fight in front of the thing. Like, I don't even know what the fight was about, but it was all had to do with having that unsavory crowd there, which could have been deterred by not offering that level of
pricing.
Mm-hmm.
It seems so hard to do that because a lot of times people got free stuff, right? If you gambled, and then basically a lot of times if you look up right now, I mean, I know there's the resort fee, but a lot of places could be $50 or $75. I mean, maybe the Venetian or these other places out there, maybe they were, let's say they were normally $350, maybe they were $1.25. You know, it wasn't like, you know what I'm saying? So what are you gonna say, that because they dropped $200, there was more crime in that? You know,
I mean, statistically, you got to look at facts. Facts are facts. So when you lower the room rates, you're more likely to have
different people, different
individuals come on board, and which bring a different element and which bring in crime. So, I mean, it is what it is sometimes, and it has nothing to do with race, color, religion, or nothing like that. It's literally the element that you bring in when that happens.
What are your thoughts? So what are your personal opinion right now in regards to, I mean, look, you have 250 security officers, you have 6 dogs out there, you're all throughout the valley in general. I mean, people want to feel safe, but what are your thoughts in general these days because of the economic situation? You know, what are your thoughts about crime?
I think it's going to get worse before it's going to get better. Yeah. And to be honest with you, we're probably in for a rude awakening very soon. And, you know, I'm going to say it in your show, like I tell many individuals. I want to say 5 to 10 years from now, our role as a security officer is going to be much different here in the state and probably in the states itself. Cities are you know, who wants to be a cop anymore? And, you know, and nobody. I wouldn't want to be back in that role, you know, and they want to take away some of their immunities. They want to take away a lot of things. And we already play that role to a certain extent with that aspect. Look at any future movie, their police force are private organizations, are private security contractors that enforce, you know, large organizations and corporations. I think that it's going to happen sooner than later when you're going to start seeing that private sector is going to take up maybe the lesser amount of patrol operations and the response to emergencies and things like that. And law enforcement is going to be a very strategic branch of the states and the cities that come in and do the investigations and the higher crime trends, where private sector is going to be taking over. A lot of states do it. A lot of states have different levels of security. Look at Texas, look at Florida, look at Virginia. All these states entrust their security officers
at a higher level,
at a much higher level, with proper training, proper vetting, to enforce their laws on their contracted properties, because their law enforcement can't be everywhere at once. So we're getting to a point in society, and I think the state is going to get to a point where this city and the state's going to have to do something about that.
So let me ask you a question. So I retired 6 years ago, and at the time I had the camera basically in the patrol car, and basically the audio device was on me, and you had to make sure it turned on. And honestly, to me personally, you know, for most of my career, I didn't really have a camera, right? So I didn't like the camera, not that I was doing anything wrong, because basically having a camera watch you throughout the whole day, I just felt, it was kind of like, not like an invasion of privacy, just like, imagine no matter what you did, you go to the bathroom, you go here. I mean, it was always recording, or like once you press record, it went back, what is it, 30 seconds or 60 seconds or whatever it may, but it was always recording. And some officers today, it's different because basically everyone's got a camera in Henderson. Basically it's on their shirt, or with Metro, I feel like it's very robotic. They have it like on their shoulder, right? You guys have a camera. So what's your take? Well, one, your security, but you have a camera. Are you pro camera situation? Has it helped tremendously?
It has. It really has. I wish I had cameras when I was a law enforcement officer in South Florida. My department either couldn't afford it, didn't want it, or whatever the case was. It probably would have saved me a lot of headache multiple times. Our officers get, complained on, and we're able to prove almost 99% of it to be false. So it's saved us in so many aspects. We are pretty pro camera because it holds not only us accountable, but it holds the public accountable. Because when we go to court, or when we have cases, or when we work with Metro on specific incidents or response, because our guys respond to burglaries, robberies, domestics, stabbings, shootings, same thing as they respond to.
Metro.
And it's the same thing. So, and we get there first. If the guys are on site already, we're already there. So we wait for their response. So it's truly been a positive aspect on our end. Problem is getting them ordered. We're on back order.
Yeah,
So,
but it's also even used as a de-escalation tool. Like you're walking up to a irate person or a crazy lady or whatever the situation is. They see you turn your body camera on. They realize they're being recorded and kind of
They change their behavior.
Yep.
If you don't mind me asking, if it's okay, because you guys are more, to me, more well equipped in regards to most security guys. What do you guys carry in general? Can you kind of explain what kind of tools?
It's mostly the same as the old duty belt that we would carry. So it's a set of handcuffs, a medical kit, our duty weapons, a couple extra mags, our pepper spray, our batons. So we want to have options. So a lot of organizations don't like to equip their security with anything, either just a gun or no gun. And to me, that doesn't make any sense, because you remove the option of de-escalation in any aspect. So you want the officers who are well-trained to have different options and not always have to go to a firearm. So we carry our tourniquets, med kits, like I said. Us as a canine, I am a canine officer, so I have my canine med kit. I have my own med kit, one for the dog. Our radios, we have a very sophisticated radio system that phone's about $1,200. It's our report writer. It's encrypted. Communications through our dispatch center. So their GPS, they know where we're at all the time, the officers, when they're on duty. So
it's on FirstNet. So in the event all phones and everything go down, that will still be on the first responder network. So it's a big monetary investment in the company, but it's paid itself over.
Got it. And how do you, with Metro and Henderson, are you working with all the police agencies now?
So yeah, we've made contacts with everyone. Our closest partnership is with Metro, because most of our entire portfolio of over 200 and something properties are in Metro's jurisdiction. We go to their meetings. They invite us to their meetings consistently. We attend all of their events. We do partnership community events as well on our properties, and we want to stay up to date with what's going on, because not every property manager and not every resident can go to these meetings, even though they're open to the public sometimes. So we want to be that avenue for information. The investigations division that Captain Almeida oversees usually puts out some great information that's unclassified for the community. Simple tactics that you can lock your doors in your vehicle when you go in, lock the door to your garage that leads into your house, and don't think that your garage door is the one that's going to protect so it's a huge thing. So things like that we always work with in our partnerships with law enforcement to get a lot of information out.
Got it. And what one thing I want to share with you was kind of interesting. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but something that I did in Henderson when I did community policing, it may be a good idea for you guys, I'm not really sure, but when we had the neighborhood patrol, the neighborhood watches, every community was a little bit different. But I got with the guy that did the CAD system and basically the mapping system, and then every home that was part of the neighborhood watch, we basically would light up. So on the mapping system, as you would, if the officer was driving through the community and it was lit up, the homes, the goal was to tell the officer, hey, it's a neighborhood watch program. And then every house, again, it creates a little bit of work for the police department, but you can click on the house and then it actually would pull up like a PDF document of like everyone in the neighborhood watch, their addresses, their phone numbers, the emails, and like the neighborhood watch captain, if they were really advanced with it. So in different communities, especially like Sun City Anthem, there was different communities, and you would see it was lit up. But the goal is that when the officer's driving through and they're looking at their map and they see the homes, they're more likely to wave, even though they're going to wave. Technically, they're supposed to wave to everybody, right? Be nice to everybody.
Yeah.
But technically, they know it's a neighborhood watch. They're more like pro-police and they're like involved. And if you click on it, now the thing is people move, come and go, but it's up to those neighborhood watch block captains to update the list and then give it to Henderson. So it was one of the things that I thought was really cool. I don't think it's actively being, it was kind of like my idea to do it. And I was actively working with the mapping system, the guy that did the mapping, and I was always uploading that information. I think it's a really cool thing because you're getting better communication with that community. So if there's any neighborhood watches, the mapping I thought was a really cool feature. And especially with you guys, like if you're patrol, I mean, I don't know if they care about it or not, but if you're patrolling certain communities, the officer that goes there, it's another resource, right? So if you're in Desert Shores and Harbor Cove or another area, basically, and you know that area is being patrolled by Protect the Force International, maybe it needs to be highlighted in red or yellow to know like there's another level of security where that if I'm investigating a crime, that, I can contact Protect the Force International. Since you guys, you could say, well, every security company could be doing that, but maybe you guys have to be trained, or it has to be a higher level in order to start working with Metro or Henderson or North Las Vegas to get them the mapping system. But it would be an extra tool if those neighborhood watch programs exist in different communities. So I just took it to different levels in regards to that. I also created something where I worked with Crime Stoppers, and I created just a vanity number, which was like 267 drug. And basically that number was more of a number to market in order to get more leads to Crime Stoppers, which may be interesting for you guys as well. Because sometimes when you're out, nobody knows about, like, if you ask anybody what's Crime Stoppers numbers, nobody knows it. So do you even know the number?
It's like 333,
Yeah.
So everyone says
All
the same thing.
threes.
It's like 385-55555.
Yeah.
But nobody knows them, like something threes. So it doesn't help the situation.
867-5309.
I think it's 383, right? Isn't all metros start with 383?
I don't even know. 86753. I actually have that number. So actually goes to Jenny. You know this Jenny? It goes to Jenny, who's a real realtor in town. And that number is an active number.
To touch back on what you were saying about having like that CAD system where the property or the police would know which security companies are with whatever properties, we kind of already do that whenever we pick up a new client. We reach out to the crime prevention specialist and they pass it on to their dispatch. I guess they put in their notes, or I don't know where it goes exactly, but like we've had situations where there's a domestic or something going on a property that we patrol. The dispatch will contact us because they know that either if we're on site or that we patrol that property to go to give us a heads up and say, hey, if you guys still need us, we're still coming regardless, but if you guys can solve it before we get there, then cool.
We've alleviated a lot of some of their nonsense calls as well. So they have a noise disturbance or a barking dog call or something like that. They'll contact us and say, hey, we're backed up on calls. We don't have anybody to respond. Can you guys go check this out? And we go ahead and take their kind of workload of the 301 style calls.
When I mentioned before that I did this like member to member patrol, do you have any programs right now? Like if I wanted to, like, let's say you weren't in my community, but I wanted the extra protection. And basically that I wanted to be able to call you or have 24/7 access. Do you have any programs like that now?
For a single person?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. No, we really don't. That's never been a thought. The problem is with that is, actually, you know what? We did. We tried it once. The guy didn't pay.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Remember that
guy.
Remember
There's one guy?
One guy, and then never did it again.
Yeah.
I will share with you, I've always liked that concept. And here's a story. I mean, if you already have a roving patrol, and let's just say, I'm going to throw it out there. Let's just say it was $1,000 for the year. And that was something that you're able to do because you already have the roving patrol. And you had 100 people that basically paid $1,000. Mm-hmm. At least it's a program that you offer. In my mindset, I live in Las Vegas, and I think it's very difficult to get the police to come to the home as much as I'm pro-police. In Henderson, it was a smaller area. I think they would come quicker because of the, just the geographic area and less craziness probably going on because Vegas is a bigger city. Henderson's a small suburb. But if I was paying like $100 a month and I knew that I can call you guys when I had different issues, I kind of would pay that money. Think about $100 a month is a reasonable fee to have an extra. It's kind of like an insurance program. If I have a problem or something, maybe you can come out and document it. And it's something that I did where I did $100 for a year, right? But it wasn't anything in advance as you guys were. But I kind of really feel that it's something for the future, something to think about.
I think that is the future. I really do.
And I think, and even if it was $99 a month or something like that, and I knew that I had, a security professional, not that you're going to be like a bodyguard, right? But like issues for documentation or a noise complaint or something, and I lived in a community, at least I could have you come out. Because people do ask me from time to time, like, hey, can I hire someone to do this? I'm like, you could hire private security to do certain things. I just feel it's a big program to offer. I think it's something you should do. It's kind of like I say member to member, but whatever you want to call it. But I think that it's something that you should offer because certain people that, let's say, are nervous or scared or in general, that it's an extra insurance, an extra umbrella for them. Like if they have a gun, they have an alarm system, they have this, like now I can hire extra patrol. And maybe it's not the patrol that they come out unless you call them out, right? So, I mean, I don't know if you have roving patrol that you have time to pass by once a week.
I know it's something that we've talked about before.
Yeah, because ultimately the larger properties have patrols every day. So between the 24-hour period, they have however many patrols, 4, 5, 6 patrols during that time frame. But yeah, having the ability, so I could see that functioning for the instance of somebody breaking glass, right? You don't know what's going on, you don't know how it is, but you're upstairs, you're calling law enforcement, you're on the line waiting, whatever the case is. Somebody else can be calling the security officer. It's almost like the alarm response per se, if you don't answer your phone. So yeah, I think that is a wonderful concept.
Also, Sun City, when I worked up at Sun City Anthem for I did community policing, they also had a vacation list. Like if you went on vacation, they would have a list and they would do vacation, like check the doors and stuff. I thought it was pretty cool too. So if someone goes on vacation for a week or two, that maybe would be an additional, maybe you get like up to 2 weeks of checking your home while you're on vacation checks if you're a member for the year. I just think that I would pay that money knowing that I have extra private security to help me. So I'm just as we're talking about it,
it'd probably be a easier situation for like a neighborhood to go with as opposed to just as like a single households to go with. You know what I mean?
The problem with it is that, to get people to pay that money in a community that's non-HOA is more difficult. So what happens? So what's kind of upsetting is if I live in a non-HOA area, I can never have like my own community patrol or every private security. And there's no way I'm getting everybody together to give any type of money. So yes, if you live in an HOA community, you're more likely to establish a neighborhood watch, which doesn't cost any money, which is hard to get together, especially probably in Vegas, but people do it. And I'm very pro neighborhood watch. But if they want to hire you guys, right, there's a cost for it. So like Desert Shores, which is a different community, there's different layers of paying different, whether it's a gated community or non-gated. I think that they have funds to do that, right? But what happens if they don't live in? So it's kind of like the people that are in non-HOA communities, they'll never have luck getting any extra type of security or protection because they live in a non-HOA community because they're not organized and it's very difficult to get the organization. Some people love living in a non-HOA community because they don't get the letters or things on their car and stuff. But to me, I think it's actually a safer community when it's an HOA.
Standards.
Yeah.
But anyway, just I wanted to share that with you because I think it's the future. And here's the story: you got to figure out that price point, and if someone wants to basically pay that money, and then also they get the signs, like an ADT sign, but basically to be protective force international signs. Do you have those signs?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So something like that too, and then maybe you have do you have an alarm program? Like if I live in a community right now and I want to get an alarm, you guys are the security professionals. Are you connected to an alarm company?
So I think it'd be pretty much up to you putting our dispatch line on your call list.
On the call list.
But if I wanted to basically use you guys as the expert, like what alarm company should I use? Do you have an actual?
So the problem is that we never put our name on something that we don't essentially have the standards over. So we don't know. I mean, we know there's many great alarm companies, but there's none that we've worked with personally that I can put a stamp of approval on, like a PFI stamp. And because we get asked that all the time. We get asked for security cameras, we get asked for alarms, we get asked for other security companies. Literally, I will never put my name on something unless I know for sure I have a hand in how the training is, the operation is, and knowing that the quality that we put out is the same quality as the top quality.
Got it. Chase, if you don't mind, Chase is the engineer. Is there any way we can pull up a Protective Force International's website? Maybe just go through real quick so that if people want to look it up. let's just go through real quick. As he's scanning through, maybe you want to just showcase anything, or here's some of the cars, or whatever you want to showcase and let Chase know.
Yes, sir. So there's our services right there, our service tab. You can click on anyone right there. We have armed, unarmed, mobile patrols, our investigation division, canines, our emergency security teams, which are the active responders to like a little bit higher critical instances on properties. Our executive protection unit as well. We have that for VIPs that come on in. And the famous whatever you need area there for our international operations.
Okay. Anything else on the website you want to showcase?
I think we got, if you can go up there. So right now, I'm sure everyone just the same is looking for candidates. Our careers tab right there on the next tab. So we are currently hiring and actively hiring. We have a hiring bonus. We provide full benefits, vision, dental, medical. Once you enroll, you get $25,000 of free life insurance that we put in. Paid training, your equipment gets fronted. And
401k.
401k. We have a lot of things that we offer, and we are looking for individuals that we need to join our ranks.
Okay, so Protective Force International is hiring, looking for good people in general. Question to ask you is in regards to, this is a good question, in regards to criminal history. Some people made a mistake in like 20 years ago. They got arrested for like something, small, and now they're older or whatever it may be. What is in regards to background, because I know with policing it's different. Mm-hmm. How does it work in regards to like your company for security or security professionals in general? Like I know with domestic battery, it's a hard situation because they are a prohibited person. They can't own a gun. So and is everybody armed?
No, not everybody's armed, but in order to work for us, you must qualify to be armed. So if you have anything domestic related or felonies that do not allow you to have it, that's an automatic disqualification. Some companies do allow that, or we don't. So
no felonies and no type of offenses that you're convicted that you can't own a gun.
Correct.
Which I really think is domestic battery.
And then ultimately, how the PILB works, your guard card, it's you have to be renewed every 5 years. So once you get your guard card, you can get arrested 100 times, and they don't pull that away until you actually have to renew it. Mm-hmm. So what we do is our multiple background checks. We do local, state, federal, and depending on the applicant, on where he's worked before, it could be international. What we end up doing is a case-by-case basis. Some offenses, we also don't want to have somebody who's a consistent individual who got arrested for theft. Now he's protecting valuable items. So it literally is a case-by-case basis. We, again, have to set our standards a little bit higher for what we do to actually change the mindset of society. We're not going to be the fly-by-night security organization. We want to set ourselves apart, and we want to make the waves that we're making because our industry is being looked at and scrutinized even more so now, and I think it's going to be more scrutinized in the future. And we need to be held accountable for our actions, the officer's actions, and for the quality of the officer that gets put in no matter what organization you work for.
Got it. You guys are doing amazing things. I definitely, I got my, my community policing, brain thinking in general. And the truth is, I'm 45 now, but I've been doing, kind of community policing since I was like 17, doing the Neighborhood Watch program and general like that. So to me, I've always just enjoyed doing it, and I like to be more a part of you guys. I know we met over a year ago. Sometimes timing is everything in general. So, definitely anything that I could do to help you guys in regards to crime prevention, coming back on the show, hosting an event. I like to do, I've always wanted to do more of the crime prevention, to invite, more of the home inspection checks to help people in general, especially elderly people in general. So I like to hook up with you guys in general, basically just to work together and to basically get you guys out there. I think you guys look great. I know you have a canine, and even in the car every 12 minutes, you're the marketing person, Hannah Solano, basically is working with you guys, checking on the dog and stuff like that. So you guys are a top outfit. So it'd be awesome to like represent you guys and help you guys, because I really do believe in, you're one form of crime prevention. And I think these days, as things change with times, and I will share with you that, the unemployment situation, a lot of people are receiving extra money right now. Mm-hmm. And when times change, everyone's looking to hire people. No one wants to go back to work. But once that money stops, the question really comes back to whether or not there will be an increase in crime, even though there's tons of jobs. But people right now, everyone's been getting a check. making a good amount of money from sitting home doing nothing. And of course, everyone's in a different situation, so I'm not just saying everybody. But on a whole, I think things change when people are not going to receive that check.
And we hope so.
So, I think there'll be an increase in security. So, anyway, I'll definitely help you guys basically try for recruitment in general to get some good people for you guys. And I'll definitely have you guys back out in the future. Armando, anything that you could think of? Any questions?
I'm just curious. You say that you're going to see a change. What is the area of opportunity that you see on your business that you think that you're going to get in the next years? Where are you thinking in growing? Because you're seeing the trend. Or what are you?
So I think that the trend, like I mentioned, is that I think law enforcement and the federal government are going to be more specialized in what they do, and security and private sector are going to be responsible to mostly handle their own things. So a very good example of this is what the casinos do. The casinos are their own city. They have their own ranks, their own departments, their own plumbing, their own electric company, their like everything. So what essentially it's all combined, and what it'll show is that Metro only comes on, or the police department only comes on when there's a crime that needs them. Everything else is handled by security. So I think that you'll see in the future that aspect start bleeding out into cities and then states and then areas, and it's going to change. I think that, in the future, the opportunity of private sector security is going to be vast. It's going to be great. Coming into this organization and setting a standard, because we spearhead this. There is no other organization like us. So we want to set that bar, and we want to set it high. So when the time comes, there is no other option. There's no other option other than organizations like ours throughout the country, because there are other great organizations, security companies that operate like us, hold the same standards. They're going to have to be called upon to do the non-emergency responses, because that's a bulk of the calls that they have. So it'll be very interesting.
It's like the overflow will wind up going to private security with elite operations like yourself.
I believe that.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming on the show. As we're ending here in general, basically, my goal, Jonathon and Alan, basically, is to help people solve problems. So people can call me anytime. I'm literally 24/7, just like I was on patrol doing community policing, any problems. So I could always be reached. I also have an app called the problemsolver.vegas, and basically people can go online. They can click on whatever problem they have. I believe it even says security issues or different things in general, so people can log on. Any problems in general, if they're in an accident, they're injured, even if people get arrested, a loved one by accident, they need help with getting out of jail and stuff like that. People make mistakes. Any type of problem, I basically try to help solve problems. Any problem that's small or big, my goal is to refer them to the right people. So people at this point in time that need any type of security or anything like that, I can refer to you in general. So again, I appreciate Jonathon and Alan with Protective Force International basically coming on the show. You want to give your phone number, a website out, anything people may be listening to audio-wise?
Yeah, sure. So our number is 702-764-9618. Our website is www.protectiveforceintl, so international abbreviated.com. Follow us on Facebook, on Instagram. We have our LinkedIn page as well. So we put a lot of our events out on there. And also our tactical store. I got to mention that. So
just about to say that. Go ahead.
Where's the store located?
So the store's located is 2620 Regatta Drive, and it's in the shopping center of the Lakeside Suites. So
when did that open?
Oh gosh,
May?
Yeah, in May
So
it
just
opened
opened.
up. Yeah.
Is it right? I've never seen it. I feel like that properties are kind of always hidden.
It's hidden.
So you know where our office, our HQ is on the left-hand side. So right above the Americana, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right above the Americana on the second floor.
Next to the salon on the second floor, on that area.
So you're kind of opposite
to our headquarters, yeah. We have our nonprofit as well, and that's Protective Force International, CDC, so Community Development Corporation. And in that, do we have time to talk about that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So to say, the goal of nonprofit is twofold. So we help transitioning veterans, train them, get them situated with their gear, and have them get pretty much immediate employment while they transition, and hopefully they stay with the organization. We're sometimes a stepping stone to law enforcement, and once they get out of the military, a lot of us stay with us. We have 2 congressional awards for having worked with veterans and having the most veterans our first year. About 52% of the department out of 100 officers are veterans. Our nonprofit, the other part of nonprofit is actually using donations, and this program is about to start, using donations to provide security services to impoverished areas that can't afford us. So patrol services, that kind of stuff, where we know that there's higher crime rates that usually never see patrols. We want to, almost like a scholarship kind of thing, where we can award a community that can't afford our services, afford services for like a year. So that's
awesome.
That's nobody's doing that. That's something that, a brainchild of mine as well, that we want to offer to that community where, a resident doesn't have to feel like, unsafe. They can call the security if they see something and know that somebody's going to go out there.
How expensive, not to get to the money situation, but like a community, let's just say if it's a gated, well, it's weird to say gated community. If it's not of a impoverished area or like in a bad area in general, it gets expensive to basically patrol an area, right? If a guy's at nighttime or something like that in general. I mean, I wonder if there's grants out there for like private security. That'd be interesting to look into. But I mean, how much would something like that cost? I mean, it's got to be expensive, right?
It literally depends on the service, how long you want them on property, the type of officer that you want. That's why we always do with the budget, the patrol program is always the most budget friendly. Problem is now gas is hiked up to, over $4 a gallon. So even that's becoming expensive on the end when we start doing our estimates for our clients. But you're always paying for the service. It's paying for a professional officer in a marked unit coming out, dealing with a situation, documenting something. All of our reports generate a case number on our end. So the insurance take it, the courts take it. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that we do very differently that has worked very well.
I will share one thing that is, I think that it may be more reasonable, and it's great, more reasonable to provide that extra patrol service if there's an issue, if the police are backed up or whatever, or going out to doing more of the community situation awareness in those communities and having events and having some fundraising. So like if someone was to donate $500, you basically pick a community where you do like an event, you bring people together, working with law enforcement, educating them about crime prevention, maybe giving the number, to your dispatch. If you always say 911 first, 311, and then like security, in general. Last thing I'll share with you, you're gonna laugh, is I'm big into vanity phone numbers. You mentioned 867-509, which is really true. I do have that number, and it goes to Jenny, who's a realtor. But I actually got the number recently, which I wanted to do something with, and actually maybe a good thing to deal with you guys with it. But I do have 999-1111.
Oh, geez.
So you have 911, which is emergency, 311 not emergency, and then 999-1111. So I wasn't sure where that was going to go for the future, but it was something that I wanted to use. Technically, it could have been for like, legal service, right? You get into an accident injury, you call 911 first, and then you call 999-1111.
Wow.
But then again, basically, and the goal was to train people to remember, right? 911.
It's a very easy number.
So, I mean, I got that number. So, I mean, it's just something I wasn't sure what to do with it, but it may be interesting, a marketing number in regards to that, because
how do you just get numbers like that's
I call them the number mafia guys, but basically you can get vanity numbers in general. So
that's interesting.
So I have different numbers. I've always been, for some reason, I always felt like when you have a business, you want something to be similar to the numbers. And we actually work with like Las Vegas Legal Network, which is a network of attorneys, and the number is 1-844 lawyers, and that's nationwide. So that number can divert to like a New York lawyer or to a lawyer that's in California or Nevada, Las Vegas.
I wonder if there's a number like 702 Get Help.
Sounds familiar.
I think
Probably is.
Well, I think someone has that number. I forgot what it was, but there's different numbers out there. But I think the 999-1111, is the closest you're going to get to basically like, maybe the security aspect of it. Anyway, we'll talk more in the future. But anyway, appreciate you guys coming on the show. The bottom line is, if people that are listening or hear this want to get involved, there's a nonprofit component for Protective Force International. You guys have a store. If you guys are looking for gear, whether it's security, if you guys are looking for a job, you guys are hiring. The bottom line is, you guys are elite security. I was about to say firm, but basically elite security. Also tactical, right? You have canine. Eventually, you'll probably get a robot. You get a helicopter soon, some drones. You got drones?
No, but we got guys that do. So
The drones, okay.
those
So
are
anyway,
expensive.
Website, phone number. I'll make sure I get it out there in general. Again, So I will have you guys back on the show, but I appreciate you guys coming on the show and sharing all the good work that you do, and I appreciate your time. Again, I'm David Kohlmeier, the problem solver, again, retired police officer for 17 years, basically helping people, any issues, anytime. You can call me at 702-400-7474. Again, 702-400-7474. You can text and call anytime, any type of problem. You could also go to theproblemsolver.vegas if you have any type of issues. Let me know that I can help out and also refer you to the right direction. Tons of resources, tons of people in the community that are looking to help other people as well. So the website basically is being shown right now on the screen. Again, theproblemsolver.vegas and 702-400-7474. Appreciate you guys joining us for the show. We'll see you next week, and be safe.